Ray Dalio is preparing for a 1929 style crisis. The only difference is that this time it is going to get a lot worse. There are so many similarities between today and 1920s that it's absolutely shocking. The world in 1929 was completely different from the world in 1939. And since we're living very similar days today, in a few years from now, the world is going to be a completely different place. So listen very carefully, because this is also going to present a very huge opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that could make you ultra rich. Historically, before 1930s, Great Britain was the only superpower that stabilized the world economy. Usually, there has been one country that had so much economic impact on the rest of the world that it would lead the world. It wasn't always perfect, but having one country that has so much influence over the world was always great because there was somebody that was leading the world. But the problem is that back in 1931, Britain got so weak that it had to abandon the gold standard, and the world was left without a superpower, without a country that could take the leadership. Yes, the United States was already the largest economy, but it wasn't strong enough to take the leadership. Today we are seeing very similar situation. The United States can barely sustain its debt, and mathematically the United States will never pay off its debts. And a lot of people wondering why the rest of the world are not moving away from the US debt. Why is the US treasuries or the US bond market remains to be the largest market in the world? The answer is very simple and straightforward. There are no alternatives. Yes, China might have built the world's second largest economy, but it's not yet in a position where it can take leadership from the United States. And that's why the world was divided back in the days between the status quo, the countries that literally created the world order back in the days, and that was the United Kingdom, France, and the United States. On the other side, there were few countries that did not like the status quo, and they wanted to change the world order, which were Germany, Japan, and Italy. And that led to World War II. Today we have a very similar dynamic. We have the G7 countries that are led by the United States, and G7 countries created the modern world order that primarily benefits the United States and the US allies. But on the other side, we have BRICS countries that are like, we don't like this world order. We would like to change the rules of the game that would also favor us, or at least gives us equal opportunities. And that's why they are building an alternative global financial system, for example. The exact same story is repeating today, just like it was back in 1920s. And each side was trying to win, especially the countries that wanted the status quo to continue. That's why they started weaponizing trade by imposing tariffs on other nations. Trade's supposed to be free. You're supposed to do business with countries and organizations that are beneficial to you. But then when you realize that your security is at risk, suddenly you start imposing tariffs on other countries. The United States is doing the exact same thing today. The US right now is imposing very similar tariffs than it did back in 1930s in order to protect itself, bring American companies back to the United States to manufacture, and punish American adversaries. Before 1930s, the world was very connected. Globalization was flourishing. But by 1920s, or I would say late 1920s and early 1930s, protectionism started to rise, and each country suddenly began imposing very heavy tariffs and stopped trading with other countries and were pursuing self-sufficiency. And we see that dynamic happening today as well. But most importantly, there was a disruptive technology that was reshaping the entire world. Today we have AI, and according to what we see, AI is going to fundamentally just change everything. The way we live, the way we consume, the way we drive, and whoever dominates AI is going to dominate the 21st century. Back in 1920s, electricity was widely spreading all across the United States. Without electricity, you cannot light up your house, you cannot drive your car, you cannot do anything probably. Even the internet is absolutely useless. So just like electricity was widely spreading across the globe in 1920s, AI today is widely spreading and changing every single industry. And these changes that we see has been happening in 1920s led to a change in the global monetary system, and that changed to the global world order. Back in 1920s, the world was on a gold standard, so every single currency was backed by gold. But the world did not like that because there are so many problems with gold. From one side, it seems like the perfect currency to use. A lot of people, especially on the internet, they like to make the argument that we have to go back to the gold standard. But there is so much limited gold in the world that it restrains the economy. You cannot possibly grow the economy when you have so much limited control of gold and you do not have a control over your currency. And that's why, starting for example in 1920s, the world is like, we have to move away from the gold standard into fiat currencies. So one country after another, they started abandoning the gold standard. It was a completely new financial system. Instantly, it created hyperinflations in many nations. German hyperinflation, which is well known across the globe. Austria, Hungary, Greece, China, all these countries instantly started to experience hyperinflation. That's when prices rise by at least 50% annually. In the case of Germany, by the end of the hyperinflation, people were carrying notes worth trillions of dollars, like hundreds of trillions of dollars in your pocket, which can barely buy you a loaf of bread. And today we see a very similar dynamic, especially after the 2008 financial crisis. The world is like, we want to move away from the US dollar. Just like the world was moving away from gold in 1920s, the world after the 2008 financial crisis realized how dependent the global economy is on the dollar, and it started to move away. So this was the period when the world was trying to create systems or alternative systems to break away from that monopoly. China created a system where you can transfer money from one place to into another, bypassing the US financial system. So going back to 1920s, after a series of hyperinflation in 1920s, in 1931, the major blow comes up. The United Kingdom, which was the most dominant economy, says that even the UK is going to abandon the gold standard. Nobody could have even imagined that the UK is in such a huge financial trouble. This is the empire that controls Canada, used to control the United States. It has under its pockets Australia, India, and so many other nations. So this empire has enough gold, enough wealth to pay for anything. But then in 1944 comes the biggest blow of all time. The UK, for the first time ever, stops making debt payments. It has accumulated so much debt, and there is an interest to pay on that debt. And when you do not have enough money to pay the interest on that debt, that is called a default. The UK was even kicked out of the US financial markets because it was no longer making its debt payments. Now we are seeing very similar things. In 2024, the United States admits that the US debt is unsustainable, and based on this trajectory, the United States is going to get out of business. We know that the United States is not going to pay off its debts, but at least as long as the United States keeps making the interest payments, that is fine. But based on all the data that we have, the United States cannot possibly continue doing that. Like in 10 years from now, based on this trajectory, the total interest payments on the US debt will be about $4 trillion. Just for the context that the total US budget today is about $5 trillion. Let's assume that the budget is going to, not the budget, but the tax revenues. Let's assume that the tax revenues will rise to $7 trillion. Can you imagine a functioning country where 50 to 70% of your entire money that comes from taxpayers is paid towards interest payments? Today, it's about 20%, which is already insane. And in 2025, the United States decided that it is going to be a soft default. The US is not going to stop making interest payments because unlike the UK back in 1934, the UK did not have enough gold, but the United States can print as much dollars as it wants. So the US passes the big beautiful bill that basically says that we are going to fix the debt problem by printing much more money to inflate our GDP and reduce the real value of the debt. Practically, you're not defaulting. But from the perspective of investors, your dollars are getting devalued, and the real return that you will make out of your money is going to be a lot less, at least by 50 or 60%, depends on how much you're going to devalue the dollar. So the current deficit is about 6%, and the sustainable deficit is about 3%. And the US will keep devaluing the dollar until the deficit reaches 3% of the GDP. So technically, the United States have already passed the point of no return. Just like the UK passed it back in 1934, the United States is passing it in 2025. So moving forward, more changes are going to come. So here are the three phases that Ray Dalio points out to. The first phase of losing that power is when your rivals stop buying your debt because they start losing trust in you. The US debt is the largest market in the world. Like the US bond market worth is about $55 to $60 trillion. This is where at least $500 billion worth of wealth change hands every single day. So this debt market allows the global financial system to function flawlessly, and China has already stopped buying the US debt and started selling the US debt starting back in 2014. So at that time, it peaked at around $1.3 trillion worth of US debt. Today, it is less than half of that, at $688 billion. And the countries that are in some kind of conflict or rivaling the United States are massively selling US debt. The second phase is when your allies keep buying it because they are part of your financial system and they want the status quo to continue. So take countries such as the UK, Japan, the European Union. These countries are enormously benefiting out of the world order. They're getting protection from the United States. They are making a lot of profits by investing in the US bond market. Everybody's profiting from the US stock market. So these countries want to dump more of their wealth into the United States. First of all, to profit out of it. Secondly, to show how much they trust the US system. But at a certain point, that debt gets so large that even the allies are like, if we keep buying US debt, we will not be making any money or whatsoever. And this is the phase was starting in 2025, when Japan, France, European countries realized that all that money that we have invested back in the United States will now be devalued significantly every year. So last year, dollar, for example, against the euro lost about 13% of its value. Imagine you are in Europe and you're investing in the United States and the exchange rate is 1-to-1. So if you're earning $100 in the United States, you bring it back to the European Union and it's going to be 100 euros. Let's assume for a moment that we will devalue the dollar by 50%. And now a single euro is going to cost $2. So even though that you're making the exact same $100 in the United States, by bringing it back to the European Union and exchanging it to euro, you will be left with 50 euros. So devaluing the dollar makes investing in the United States very unattractive, and that's when your allies will stop buying your debt because it is simply extremely unprofitable. And this is the last phase. We're not yet at that phase, but we're entering that phase. So probably in 5 to 10 years from now, the world is going to look completely differently. Maybe not even in 10 years. It might even happen in the next 3 to 4 years with all these really huge events taking place starting in 2026. But every single crisis is an opportunity for investors. If you know how to read the market, if you know how to invest, you're going to profit enormously. For example, on one side, the United States is devaluing the dollar. On the other side, there are assets that appreciate whenever the US government devalues the dollar. So the people who are invested in the market, they will still reap the profits. So no matter how big the crash is going to be in the US with the US dollar, the top 5%, the top 10% who are consistently investing in the market, these people will profit. And you don't have to criticize these people. You don't have to hate these people. All you have to do is to learn investing and start investing. And it's not as difficult as you might think. If you have the right tools, if you have the right knowledge, if you have a step-by-step guide, you can certainly do it. So if you want a step-by-step guide to start investing, I have created the Investing Academy. This is a completely free investing course to get you started investing, and it's also a community of people just like you who want to learn investing, share ideas, and get rich all together. The link is in the description of this video.